There we go. All right, well, we are going to start. A couple people will trickle in as we begin, but we'll just go over some basics. If you are able to, I would love to see your beautiful face. Please join me. This is going to be a conversation between all of us. So I hope we can all join on camera if you're able to. Next. So I will start with introductions. My name is Yahaira Ortega, and I'm the Policy Advocacy Associate for Thrive Alliance, and I'm joined here with my colleague, Petra.
Hi, Petra Sultan, the Director of Advocacy and Education for Thrive Alliance, and I'm going to hand it over to Sarah O'Brien to introduce herself.
We can't hear you, Sarah.
Yes, I had to do the unmute. Always have to find it. Good mornings, and I'm Sarah, and I'm from the Registration and Elections Office. And if you have any elections questions, feel free to send me an email, give me a call anytime. And now, am I picking, or is it going to the next person?
That is it for the moment. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. I will also share Sarah's email and at the end, so everyone has access to that if you have any specific questions for the elections division. Let's go on to the next slide. And Petra will include Thrive Alliance website in the chat, which we will refer to later on in the presentation. Now let's move on. As part of voter education, we will be co-hosting 8 candidate forums. That sounds crazy, but yes, we are doing about 8 candidate forums to educate San Mateo County on the future candidates that might be in office. We have 2 coming up next week, the Congressional 15th District and our in-person Sheriff Forum, which will be held at the Redwood City Women's Club with the League of Women Voters. Translation will be included for the Congressional and Sheriff Forums. And the rest of our forums will be all online, and you can have access to them all through our website. If you have your phone, you can scan the code or go to Thrive Alliance and you will be able to register there. We hope to see you all there. Come figure out what these candidates are looking forward to in the next term. All right, next. Our second announcement is our election education toolkit. And we're just so excited about elections, primary election, all things elections, that Thrive wants to make it really easy for people to get involved and spread the news about the election, outreach to their communities, and just bring this information to the people that might not have access to it. We are sponsored by the Grow Foundation, and this toolkit just aims to amplify and strengthen voter outreach all throughout the area. And we will offer all kinds of support. So all outreach materials will be created by Thrive. You can slap your logo on it and send it to your communities and your leaders to educate folks about this opportunity. It would also come with a $1,500 stipend to support your outreach and encourage participation. And this stipend can be used for any creative manner, such as gift cards, your promotadora program, any food, reservations for an event, however you like to use it. We are in full support, and we know that this is really important work, and we just want people to get involved. And Petra will include the Excel sheet. If you're interested, please look into the Excel sheet, and we will offer an opportunity for signups. If you're interested, put your name, organization, and tell us what you need from us on that Excel sheet. Awesome. We'll talk a little bit more about what is included in this election education toolkit later in the presentation. Next, please. All right. So before we dive in, let's go over the agenda. So what to expect. We'll have introductions, a share out portion, then we'll go on why it's important to vote, why it's important to outreach, then all things elections. So who, how, and when to vote. Then we'll talk a little bit about what are the main reasons ballots are rejected. And then we'll go into the election education toolkit. Any ideas? We'll show you what we have, our stickers, our pledge cards. And the last portion is reserved for any questions and to get our contact information if you need it. Next, please. So let's start with our names, pronouns, organization, and what does voter outreach look like to you? And I will pick on Glenn, who is on my screen here first, and then Glenn, you may popcorn off to the next person.
Great. Hi, my name is Glenn Olson. I'm with the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area, and my pronouns are his, him. And voter outreach, to me, for us, it's often reaching out to first-time voters, people that have gained their citizenship recently. And so real balance for us is how much is it about learning how to vote, and how much of it is about what's up on the ballot in such a complicated, so many offices up for, and how do we not make our messages too complicated? That balance is really hard. How to vote and what to vote on. We find we're often trying to figure out how to not like overwhelm. So that balancing act is what it often means to me at the moment. And then pass it off to Betsy.
Hi, I'm with League of Women Voters, and Sarah has been a wonderful help answering questions for me. So what I'm involved with is setting up in-person tabling events to do voter education. And my challenge is finding events where we can be and, making all the arrangements. So I think, towns and cities are starting to open up and have public events. So that's really good, but that's where I'm working. Is it Maritza? Leia?
Hello, hi. Yes, this is Maritza Leal. I am she or her. So I am with Nuestra Casa of East Palo Alto. And what outreach looks for me, voter outreach looks for me. It looks for me as a good opportunity to find new voters, good opportunity to educate my community about, especially, I'm saying my community because it is hard, sometimes they don't believe in political things and they're not engaged as we want them to be. So it's like educating them, like why it is important for them to understand the ballot and understand the importance of your voice in there. So it's a challenge, but also it's an opportunity to engage with new voters, engage with students, maybe pre-register them, and have that opportunity for them, like to be able to help them. And also, as someone say there, like understanding what are they voting for, and then yeah, so it's a great opportunity to engage families, and that's what it is for me. And then I will go with, let's see, maybe Sandy Craft.
Hi. Yeah, I think everyone, same thing as other people have said. I think voter outreach is both trying to get some younger people and like new immigrants that are eligible to register, and then letting people know how to do it, and then where they can get information, probably condensed information, and then more if they want it. But a lot of people don't have a lot of time. So somewhere where they can kind of figure out quickly what the main issues are and get a sense of how they want to vote. I would probably do it, definitely some digital, do a lot of social media, and then a combination of just in-person events. probably at things that are already happening. Oh, let's see, Gabriella.
And
Gabriella.
Gabriela says in the chat,
Oh.
I'm so sorry, I don't have access to my camera or microphone. Hi, I'm Gabriela, she, her. I'm a librarian at the South San Francisco Public Library. Voter outreach means making sure voters are equipped with the right information to vote confidently in every type of election. Thank you, Gabriela. That is very important. I'm hearing a lot of importance and why it's important to vote. And we'll go over to Natalie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am with Good to Know Network. So we work with child care providers and early learning teachers in San Mateo County. I think for us, what voter outreach means is a couple things. One is kind of similar to what Sandy was saying, the population that we work with works really long hours, and they don't have a lot of time to do research about kind of what's happening in their local communities. So connecting them with information that's quick and easy, and then also helping them to understand the relevance of how things that are happening locally can affect their work as childcare providers as well. And I'll pass it on to, let's see, Margie, I don't know if you've gone yet, right?
I have not. It's Margie Gator. I'm from the League of Women Voters in North and Central San Mateo County, as opposed to my colleague Betsy down in the south part of the county. Voter outreach is a little bit of everything for us. We do candidate forums. We recently did 2 virtual trainings on voter registration for other nonprofits to be able to go out and do voter registrations themselves to extend our reach. Like Betsy, we are looking for events. That's kind of a challenge. So I was kind of hoping to get out of this and our other Thrive interactions, some networking to help find some events we could help with, or other outreach we can partner with. We're here to help get the word out. We all have similar goals, and we'd like to work with people in the north and central part of the county to help get things going here in terms of registration, outreach, education, spreading of materials, all that great stuff. And I will go to Robert in Pacifica.
Hi, I'm Robert. I am learning myself first and foremost, and then my specialty is creating content that's bite-sized and entertaining and educational to kind of educate my little small town of Pacifica. We're often forgot on a lot of these conversations, so when I have the opportunity to come and engage, in these conversations, I can kind of bring it back and give it to my trusted messengers and just spread the good word of, making the city a better place one day at a time. So soaking it up from all of you and then passing it along. I got my hands in a lot of little things. I wear a lot of different hats. So this is a very important topic for me. So I'm kind of taking a step to do this myself and then bring it back, where I've worked for other agencies, but I'm on my own right now. And Huen Mi Kim from Puente. I'm a big fan of Puente, so maybe we'll go with you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Hyun Mi Kim, and I am actually the new Housing Advocacy Director at Puente. So thanks for having me today, and it's really a pleasure to meet everyone. What does the voter outreach look like for communities that Puente serves? I mean, our community members also work very long hours. They are mostly farm workers. And some of them don't have status, so they cannot vote, and some of them do. And our priority is really to make sure that we make information about candidates, what are the issues they are running on and break down the information in the layman's terms so that they can understand in the language, in their native language. So most of our community members speak Spanish. So our outreach materials will have to serve the monolingual Spanish speaking community members, and just to again help them understand that why voting is very important and the specific issues they're voting on, how they would impact their daily lives. And frankly, engaging in the voting process can be very intimidating, right? It's not something, I think, people tend to take it for granted that, especially if you're born and raised in the United States and you don't have any thing to fear, to worry about, how your information can be used possibly against you. Like if I provide information when I fill out the voter registration, could it be used in some way to harm me and my family? So it's a very intricate process for us. So we're just grateful for this opportunity for us to engage and see how we can kind of tailor the outreach materials to make it more suitable for the communities that we serve. And I'm really looking forward to different strategies that all of us can employ to make sure that the process goes smoothly. So thank you. Oh, and then I will go to Lucy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lucy Salcido Carter. I'm with Cal Nonprofits, she, her pronouns. Let's see. We're an association, so I think one of the roles that we play is in encouraging other nonprofits, kind of like what this forum is about, encouraging other nonprofits to get involved in this work. We have a campaign that we call Vote with Your Mission, and it's really reminding nonprofits that this work supports their mission. If we want to have electeds that support the work that we're trying to do. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but that's a lot of the work we do, and then and providing materials that facilitate that for nonprofits. So, but really just sort of reframing how you think about being engaged in this work. And then, I just think providing information where people are is a key voter outreach, and a lot of you have spoken to that already. So I will popcorn to Sige. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Or if you have access to, you can jump on with audio.
Hello, yeah, Sige. My name is Sige Arroyo, and I am also part of the Nuestra Casa team, as we heard my colleague Maritza Leal, and we are just trying to get as much information as we can to help our community and help them serve the best communication we can for voting, especially our Hispanic community. And thank you so much for this invitation. And I'll pass you now with Jessica, which she's also part of Nuestra Casa.
Hello, my name is Hello, my name is Jessica. I am also part of Nuestra Casa. And yeah, like my colleague said, we're just trying to get as much information to give to our community. Most of our community members are Spanish speaking. And I think that would be, and to better educate ourselves. Thank you. My pronouns are she, her.
Thank you, Jessica. I think the last person on here is Martha.
Hi, I'm Marta Ortega, and I'm working with Maritza Leal, Jessica, and Sujei. And I think the same thing because we work with the Hispanic community, and a lot of people think the vote right here is they count, because in our country, when they vote, they don't count. They don't put any people they wanted. And it's very important to educate our community this is not true in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I almost forgot. Emily, have you spoken yet? We'll pass it over to Emily.
Sure, no, I haven't. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I'm with the Office of Community Affairs and Immigrant Services. And I echo many things people have said, but certainly language access is a big one. I saw here that the candidate forms are going to be translated into Spanish. That's great. But then also, other people have referenced this, the written material being at like a simple level, right? That's easily accessible and not making it too complicated. Thanks.
Alrighty, thank you. Thank you all for sharing. You all spoke. I mean, like Lucy said, I'm preaching to the choir and you know the importance of this, but I'm so happy everyone is here and excited about this voter education. The purpose of our toolkit and all our voter educations to make it as easy and accessible for everyone to have the information and provide it to their communities. We will continue with the presentation. Let's go back one slide. One more, please. Thank you. So here are some reasons that we found that it's important to vote. Of course, you all know that it's very important to vote, but let's go over just a few. Before we go over those, please note that local elections have no party affiliation or designation, but there is party designation for state or federal, and only the top 2 candidates from each party will move on to the general election. So now that we have that centralized information, June is called a primary election, but some county level races will be decided in June, such as local bond and tax measures, and all county level races that only have 1 or 2 candidates will be decided if one candidate receives 50% plus 1. Another reason is that elections are decided on small margins. So every vote counts. And we have here a few examples. In Woodside, a measure was passed by just 5 votes. East Palo Alto was incorporated as a city by just 15 votes. And some city council races have been determined by fewer than 25 votes. So there's a lot of importance to vote, but the most important information here is that in San Mateo County and across many California cities, Latinx, Asian, and youth vote at significantly lower rates than white and older voters. And some of you mentioned this, but this is important, and it's nice to know that you all are emphasizing on some of these communities. Next. All right, so let's just go over quickly who is eligible to vote. A U.S. citizen and resident of California, you must be 18 years or older on election day, not currently serving a state or federal prison term or conviction of a felony, and not currently found mentally incompetent to vote by a court. Let's move on to the next one. So how to vote. There are 4 different ways to vote. You can vote by mail. Just make sure that your ballot is postmarked by election day, Tuesday, June 7th, and you can track your ballot here at smcvote.org. You can also drop off your ballot at any Dropbox or vote center locations. And for all locations, smcvote.org. And thirdly, you can vote in person, which is more old school, but I'm the type that usually loves to go in person. I just get really excited about elections. I want to show my vote and I want to show up. Something really exciting is that San Mateo County is launching a waiting in line widget, which will provide people the approximate wait times for certain vote centers. More information to come. Visit smcvote.org if you have any questions. Another way to vote is by remote accessible vote by mail system. And that's where you mark your ballot from your computer and then print it, and you can mail it in or drop it off. These are just many ways that you can get involved in this election, and these are ways that you can offer to your constituents about how they can submit their ballot. Let's go on to the next slide. So when to vote. Here's a timeline that shows you a few dates that are very important. In San Mateo County, 3 vote centers will open on Monday, May 9th. Then 9 vote centers will open on Saturday, May 28th. And please note that vote centers will be open on Memorial Day, May 30th. So hopefully that's another opportunity for people to go vote or drop off their ballot or go to a vote center. And from Saturday, June 4th, all the way through the election day, Tuesday, June 7th, all 45 vote centers will be open. And remember, we are trying to get the word out that the last day to vote is Tuesday, June 7th. That is the wording we want to use to ensure that everyone is able to submit their ballot. And vote by mail ballots must be postmarked on or before Tuesday, June 7th in order to be received by the elections office. Let's go to the next slide. So let's go over common reasons ballots are rejected. And Sarah, feel free to chime in at any point, but the main reasons here is that ballots are received after the deadline. So all ballots must be postmarked by the June 7th date that we discussed and must be received no later than 7 days after election day. The second thing is if a signature does not match the registration card. We were in a meeting yesterday and they were saying that some spouses may sign each other's ballots, and the elections office is able to figure that out only if they have both of the ballots to kind of confirm their identity. But please just make sure your signature matches your registration card and that you're signing the correct ballot. And the last thing is some ballots, or more than that, ballots are not signed in the correct place. And I have a picture here on the left-hand side where you see it's a huge X. Just make sure to write your signature as you write it before. If your signature is an X or a symbol, it doesn't matter as long as it matches your registration card. Sarah, did I cover everything?
I think so. I was just going to add the part about if you sign your voter registration card as, James Smith, and you sign your ballot Jim Smith, that's okay. Some people call us and say, I didn't sign James E. Smith. And it's, we just need to have some part of your name be correct and it to be a nickname that's fairly common, and that the writing looks like the writing that they did either on their voter registration form or their driver's license. A lot of people now, we get their signatures from their driver's license automatically.
Thank you, Sarah. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to call up the elections office. They have people there all the time. Trust me, I've called as a nonprofit organizer to just get a quick answer on some quick questions. And I see there's a question by Huan, me?
Yes. Is there a reason why the vote centers the number of vote centers are being set up incrementally? So I see that it starts with a very few and then the number increases over time. So I'm just trying to understand why that is.
Sure, let me give that one. The 29-day vote centers, most of the other counties don't do that. We have done that traditionally. I mean, if it's 29 days, any of the other counties would say that go to their voter registration office, and that is one of your options as a vote center 29 days ahead of time. But we've chosen to have one in the north, one in the south, South San Francisco, and the one in the north, south is Redwood City. And I realize that's not as convenient for you as far as, location, Pescadero, La Honda, places like that. So we start with the 29 out of both habit and, convenience of giving people time. Then the law, the California Voters' Choice Act, is the part that says you need to have these 11-day vote centers. And they give us numbers, and I don't have them off the top of my head, but it's something like, you have to have one vote center per 50,000 people 11 days before the election. And then 4 days ahead of the election, it's much less. It's like you have to have a vote center in every incorporated city, or 15,000 people. For instance, Pescadero, La Honda will have, I think it's a 2-day, we call it a pop-up voting, because it's not meeting the law by doing 4 days. So we can't just call it a vote center, but it will do the same things. You can go in, you can do same-day registration. You can, obviously do your vote, you can get a replacement ballot. But it's all about the law as to why we open so many at a time.
I'd like to just jump in for a second, which is one of the things that we're hoping that you all can do is kind of shift the mindset from election day to election period. Because for a lot of people, especially the communities that you guys work with, being able to take the time on the Tuesday is really difficult. So the idea is you can vote by mail anytime, you can do the drop box anytime at your convenience. A lot of these communities do really like Yahya was saying, to actually go in and vote, because all of the vote centers are open for the 4 days preceding the election, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That really gives you a ton of options. So if you're thinking about easy messages to get out, it is easy to vote. The Voters' Choice Act has made it very easy. So incorporate that into your outreach as much as possible. And we've tried to incorporate it into our materials. And the kind of cute way we're saying it is more days, more ways.
Yeah, thank you so much. The reason I asked the question is exactly that issue, because it's going to take time for Puente staff to also get familiarized and to learn, different issues that are going to be, raised in this election. And it's not just a matter of distributing outreach materials. I mean, the community members may read those outreach materials and they may have some additional questions, and our staff have to be prepared to answer those questions since we are conducting, outreach. So I was just thinking that, bulk of the time, at least I'm thinking 2 months minimum is going to be all about educating ourselves and then educating our community members. And then we're going to have to think about, arranging transportation system for people to be able to go over the hills to vote, because a lot of our community members don't have a car. So it's just good to know which vote centers will be established at what location in advance, so that I can work around those time schedule so that we can be prepared. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Juan. I think Sarah's on mute.
Yeah, I was gonna say they could, there it is. They can vote by mail. They don't have to, take, the ride over the hill, if they're comfortable with that.
Plus there'll be the 2-day vote center pop-up in Pescadero, right?
Yeah, and thank you for your question. It's important to kind of educate ourselves and see what other information other people have. I see Sandy had a question. Sandy, you can go ahead and ask your question.
I actually have 2 questions now. So first, on can some of the people that are most familiar with the Hispanic community help me understand? It sounds like you think people want to vote in person more than via mail. Can you help share some thoughts as to why they have that thinking? And is it best to kind of reinforce that or talk about the mail option?
And I think you're referring to Juan or Martisa, who have worked with
Right.
the Latinx community.
I'm sorry, could you
Hearing
repeat
your
the
question.
I think, and it sounds like you were saying you think that some of the Hispanic community prefer to vote in person. They feel more comfortable with that. Can you help understand why that is? And do you think it's best to just reinforce that, make sure they know where they can do that? Or is it useful and helpful to try to explain how mail works and that it's safe? And I don't know, what are
Yeah.
the concerns about mail? Like, because mail seems so much easier. So why do they have a preference for in-person?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily think that there's a strong preference either way, but the concern that some community members have in terms of voting through the mail is just putting a bunch of personal information through the mailing system and not knowing if it's going to get securely delivered. I mean, there has been some incidents where during the pandemic, because for example, a lot of Social Security Administration offices were closed, the people who needed to get green card or send their personal information, they would get lost, right? Like they would ask us, like, can you put your physical green card in the mail for us to be able to update your Social Security number? And you can see why it would be so risky to do that. In some instances, those materials get lost in the mail. So I think there is the legitimate fear of just putting your information in the mailing system and just worrying about, whether it's going to actually end up where it's supposed to end up. So, but I don't necessarily think that there is a strong preference, but I think we are still trying to responsibly address those concerns, although they may not be very common. And if there is some strong preference from some, a small portion of committee members who want to vote in person, we certainly want to do everything we can to make that happen.
Thank you.
I just want to jump in for a sec on that, because some communities that have worked very hard to get the vote that didn't previously have the vote really want to vote in person because it's an emotional thing. And also there is a level of distrust for some communities as well, and voting in person feels to them more likely that their vote is going to get through. And there's been a lot of political noise about, voting isn't secure, so some of those people just would prefer to vote. So it's an other option. In our county, more than 80% vote by mail. But I think that small percentage to have the opportunity to go in and vote in person. Also at a vote center, you can fix your registration, you can re-register, you can do all kinds of things that you need to do, and get language assistance, disability assistance, all of that stuff. So the vote centers are very useful, not just for distrust, but for any issues that come up if you've lost your ballot, all of that.
Yeah, thank you, Petra. I see Martisa has her hand up, but before to address something Juan said, that mistrust of the mail system, something that they're offering is Track Your Ballot. That's also another resource that we can offer people to ensure that they can see where their ballot is at the moment and figure out whether it has reached the location it's supposed to reach. All right, thank you so much, Martisa, for being so patient. Please add on.
Yes, thank you. I was like trying to get my mic unmute. But yeah, I wanted to add something to that. And also I see it that our community likes to do it by, in a place in person vote, because they feel like it is safe. And then we're also coming to that tradition in our country that everyone goes and do it. So it's more like safety and make sure that their vote will be in the right place. Totally agree that there is some mistrust in mailing or losing things. So I think it's more like safety for them that they will decide to go. And I think it is And another thing also is that many of our population, they're not used to vote. So they have so many questions at the time that they are like doing or they're going to. So they want to feel like they have someone in there, you know, that they can ask for in case they don't understand anything, or where do I go, and things like that. So I think I will say that that's part of what they also will choose to do in person voting. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Sandy, I hope you got a very fulfilled answer. We are all so excited. Do you have a second question before we move on?
And my other question was if around the signatures, is there a way for people to look up their voter registration card to see how they signed it?
The best thing would be to look at your driver's license or state ID. Whatever you have from the DMV, that would be a signature that, you know, we are most likely we have it. But other than that, we can't give a copy of your signature. We can, some people have called and said, you know, is it really sloppy or did I write it neatly, you know, legibly? And, you know, I can say, yeah, you wrote it really sloppy. That's probably how you usually do, you know, just sign it that way.
So as long as it matches the driver's license
Sandy?
ID, it's okay. Even if it doesn't match the voter registration card.
It doesn't have to be an exact match in any way. I did. Hillary's telling me that if you come in and give us give us your ID, show us your driver's license, we can make a copy of your registration form, or you have to be willing to email, you know, a picture or of that ID, and again we could email back the registration, but usually the question is pretty basic of, you know, did I sign it normal or did I really write out my name letter by letter?
But just so you know, if the elections office gets a ballot and it doesn't seem like the signatures match, they do something called curing the ballot, which means that they will reach out to you, and there's 28 days after the election where they can do this because the election isn't certified until 30 days after the election. And they'll ask you to fix whatever issue there is, if there is an issue, which is a fantastic thing that they do. So I think not obsessing about the signature is a great idea.
What percent are have an issue? Do you know?
It's a very, very small percent. Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, what was that?
What percent have an issue? I think the biggest issue for ballots that are rejected really is people who mail them after 5 o'clock on June, or after whatever post office they drop it off at has, you know, it needs to be postmarked on that day. And so you know, if you stick it in the mailbox at 8 o'clock on June 7th, it's not going to get in. So that's actually the biggest problem that people have.
I think, you know, what we call the mismatched signature is really big too. But, you know, like Petra said, you know, if we can't, you know, sort of match it to what we have, you know, for somebody, it might be, we have signatures over 10 elections. For another person, it might be, this is the first time we're only seeing their driver's license signature. We will, if they gave us an email, we'll email them. If they gave us a phone number, we'll give them a call, and we'll also mail a form that says, hey, did you really sign your ballot? And, you know, it looks a little different than what we have. And if you're willing to attest to that, you put it back, you sign that, and you put it in the mail. We give you a prepaid post envelope to put it back in and drop it in the mail. The catch is a lot of people won't do that, even though we give them the envelope that, you know, they don't have to put a stamp on.
And how does postmark work? Like if I drop it off at 5 and it says the last pickup's at 5, is it going to get postmarked that day, or do they need like time to, you know, stamp it?
My understanding, like if you drop it in one of those blue boxes on the street, and let's say it said, you know, last pickup is 5 o'clock every day, and you dropped it at 6 p.m., they won't pick it up until June 8th. And they'll put a June 8th postmark on your ballot, and, we can't accept it.
Okay.
What if you drop it at the post office at 5?
I'm going to tell you something that's a little weird. I haven't told people in my office. I did that once. I went to the post office at 8 p.m. it was like just after 8, like 9 p.m. election day, and put my ballot in the mail. And it came with the postmark for that day, same day. So they usually say, oh, it's got to be by 8 p.m. Well, the post office doesn't put the time. So if you're so lucky that they actually postmark it, you've taken it to the post office, you might get the same day post mark on it.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing that. Before we move on, Petra, did you have anything else to add?
No, I was just watching the time, so let's move on.
Yes. All right, can we go to the next slide, Kirsten? Thank you. All right, lastly, I just wanted to cover all the materials that we're offering in this voter election education toolkit. We will have the threefold with all the basics, everything that we covered here, the why, the how, the when, the who, and the what. We will also include I voted and future voter stickers. We will have pledge cards, FAQs, bookmarks, and voter registration forms. And we can also include any information from the elections office that may be given to us. And all of this comes in a very nice little package. And if you are interested, please make sure to fill out that Excel sheet, and we can get you a digital or a printed copy of this. And let's see. I have a question. Can you make the presentation in Spanish? At the moment, we do not have it in Spanish, but we can give it to you all. And I will follow up with the recording and the presentation slides.
Sarah, you do presentations in Spanish though, right? So the elections office could do one for you.
If people ask, we're happy to come. Usually we don't make a big effort of going out ourselves. Sometimes we'll say, hey, can somebody like People Power or Thrive or League of Women Voters, can you go do it? But because of the busyness of election season, but we do, if it's like around now, we're still available to easily do something. And if you have a big crowd, we'll do something too.
Thank you so much for that information, Sarah. I do have, if we go to the next slide, I have your email and my email here. So if you have any remaining questions that we can answer election related, you can email Sarah O'Brien, and this is her email, or any information on Toolkit or this presentation, you can email us at Thrive Alliance. And could you email this PowerPoint? Yes, this will be included in the follow-up presentation, in the follow-up email. And I will also include the recording for anyone else that wants to watch it or share it with other people. And I think that's it. We can stop sharing our screen. I just like to say that I'm so glad we are all very excited on the same page about elections. And I want to thank you all for coming and joining us for this. We hope to get that follow-up email as soon as possible. And I think Petra, you have something to add?
First of all, huge thank you to you, Hira, for all the hard work that you put into this. I know Puente Nuestra Casa is on board for the stipends. If anybody else is interested, please let us know. We'll send all of this information out. Sandy, actually, I think we have you on the list as well for Neighbors Helping Neighbors.
Yeah, I have to talk to you because I'm not a 501c3.
Okay. We will talk about that. And then, if anybody wants to stay back and chat a little bit more about specifically the toolkit and getting the stipend.
And huge thank you to Sarah for coming and joining and answering all the questions. We are so very excited and very grateful that you're here. So thank you so much for joining us. As Petra said, if you want, you can stay behind